There are quiet moments when the heart feels heavier than the body can explain. Moments when the world keeps moving, but something inside you slows down, asking for room to breathe again. And maybe that's where you find yourself now, somewhere between the thoughts you've tried to manage and the feelings you've tried to silence. It's strange how weight can live inside you without shape, how it settles in the unseen corners and grows without permission. You carry it because you must, until suddenly you realize you can't. And in this fragile place where the soul becomes honest, something gentle begins to whisper. You were never meant to hold all of this alone. Sometimes the heaviness isn't a punishment. It's a quiet invitation, an invitation to notice the limits of your own strength, the tenderness of your own exhaustion, the truth that you've been holding everything so tightly that even your breath forgets how to rest. And when the soul is this tired, God doesn't rush toward you with demands or explanations. He comes softly, like light touching the edge of water, like the hush that settles before a deep breath. He knows where the weight sits inside you, even before you speak. He sees the places you avoid naming. He hears the questions that never find words. And he stands with you here, in this moment, not asking you to be stronger, but asking you to be real. Because what your heart can no longer hold is exactly what his hands are ready to carry. There's something sacred about letting go, not in defeat, but in trust, as if your soul finally understands that surrender is not giving up, it's giving over. You don't have to solve everything before you rest. You don't have to pretend that the burden isn't heavy. You don't have to know how God will work things out. You just have to know that He will. His presence doesn't always remove the weight instantly, but it steadies the place where you stand. It gives your breath a rhythm again. It allows your thoughts to settle like dust after a long storm. And slowly, the fear that once felt loud begins to fade into something smaller, something less threatening, something held by a power greater than your own. Maybe your heart has been breaking quietly, without anyone noticing. Maybe you've held back tears for months because you didn't want to be anyone's burden. Maybe you've been carrying memories you never healed from, or responsibilities that feel too big for one soul, or worries that cling to you like shadows that refuse to step away. And maybe this moment, right here, right now, is God's gentle way of saying, "Give it to me. I can hold what you can't." He isn't asking you to understand the road. He's only asking you to walk it with Him. If you listen closely, you might sense it. The subtle shift inside you, the small rise of hope, the quiet assurance that you don't have to keep everything pressed against your chest anymore. Grace is not a theory. It's a hand reaching into the depth of your struggle. Mercy is not a concept. It's a presence that wraps around the most fragile places in you. And love, His love, stays even when your strength doesn't. So breathe slowly. Let your shoulders fall. Let this moment be softer than the ones before it. Let God meet you where your heart trembles. You've carried the weight long enough. Now let Him carry you. Jesus, I lay the weight in my chest before you. Take what my heart can no longer hold.
Breathe peace into the places where I feel tired and steady me with your gentle strength. Amen. If this moment brought peace to your soul, whisper Amen in the comments. Share this prayer to bless another heart, and stay close with us at 10 Men with God, a quiet home for those who long to walk with Him. And if you feel led, gently tap subscribe so you never walk these moments alone.
There are moments when the soul reaches a place it never planned to visit, a quiet inner crossroads where uncertainty feels louder than truth, and your heart wonders if God still notices the trembling you've been trying to hide. And yet, even here, something begins to speak to you in a way words never could. Something softer than reassurance, deeper than comfort, almost like a warmth moving through the cold edges of your worry. It reminds you that the God who holds galaxies has never lost sight of the small, fragile world inside your chest. Sometimes the weight you carry doesn't break you. It reveals you. It uncovers the depth of your longing, the tenderness of your faith, the truth that underneath all your attempts to be strong, there is a soul desperate to be known by the one who understands every silence you've ever kept. And maybe this is where God meets you differently, not with answers, but with presence, not with noise, but with stillness, not with pressure to be okay, but with permission to let your heart unravel in His hands. Because He knows the story behind every tear that never fell, every breath you forced to stay steady, every hope you buried because you thought it was too heavy to pray for again. When life feels scattered and your thoughts run in too many directions, God doesn't call you to gather yourself. He calls you to come as you are. Not the polished version, not the brave version, just the honest one, the one who doesn't pretend, the one who whispers, "Lord, I'm tired," without needing to explain why. There is a strange kind of holiness in admitting your limits, a sacred tenderness in realizing that surrender isn't a collapse, it's a return to the arms that have never failed you, a return to a love that doesn't keep score of how long you've struggled, a return to the truth that God works most beautifully in the places where you stop forcing yourself to be more than human. And as you breathe here in this still moment, you might begin to notice the way His peace settles, not like a sudden miracle, but like a gentle settling of dust after the wind has passed. Slow but steady, subtle but unmistakable. His peace doesn't erase the situation. It steadies you inside it. It holds the pieces of you that feel scattered. It guards the doorway of your thoughts so fear doesn't walk in uninvited. And more than anything, it reassures you that you are not moving through this world unaccompanied. God is not waiting for you on the other side of your hardship. He is walking with you in the middle of it. He is the strength beneath your weakness, the calm beneath your racing thoughts, the steady ground beneath the places where you feel you might break. And when the burden rises again, as it sometimes does, He doesn't grow impatient. He simply extends the same invitation. Give it back to me. You're not meant to hold it alone. That is the heart of grace. Not that God rescues you once, but that He keeps lifting you every time your soul grows weary. So let your breath slow down. Let your spirit unclench. Let this moment steady what life has shaken loose. You don't have to know how everything will unfold. You don't have to predict the way forward. You only have to trust that the God who carries what you cannot hold will guide your next step with tenderness. And maybe, as your heart learns to loosen its grip, you will feel something shift. Not the circumstance, but you. A softening, a quiet confidence. A subtle rise of hope that gently reminds you, Jesus, meet me in the places where my heart feels unsteady. Hold what I cannot carry, and let your peace settle deeper than my fear. Teach me to trust you one breath at a time. Amen. If these words rested gently on your spirit, whisper Amen in the comments. Share this moment to bless another soul, and stay close with us at 10 Minute with God, a quiet home for hearts learning to trust again. And if you feel led, softly tap subscribe so you never walk these moments alone. There comes a point when the heart begins to notice things it once rushed past. The quiet ache beneath every crowded thought, the unspoken questions that rise when the world goes still, the subtle trembling in places you never shared with anyone. And maybe this noticing isn't a sign of weakness. Maybe it's the soul finally telling the truth after carrying too much for too long. Sometimes the deepest burdens are not the loud ones, but the ones hidden beneath calm faces and practiced smiles. The ones you tuck away because you're afraid they might be too heavy for anyone else to understand. Yet God understands. He always has. Even when you try to hold everything together, even when you pretend to be steady while your inner world leans, even when you whisper, "I'm fine," but nothing inside you agrees. He sees the weight behind your quietness. He hears the heaviness behind every breath you've taken today. And he doesn't look away. He draws closer. He comes not with demands, but with gentleness, not with pressure, but with invitation. An invitation to let what has been tightening inside you finally loosen, to allow what has been trembling to be honest, to let the truth of your exhaustion rise without shame. Because God is not threatened by the fragility you hide. He isn't disappointed by your limits. He isn't surprised by how tired you've become. He simply meets you here, in the very center of what feels too much. And in this meeting, something shifts. Not the situation, but the heart that faces it. You begin to sense that what you've been holding is safe in His hands, that the weight you carried in silence is not too heavy for the one who holds the universe without strain. You begin to realize that surrender is not failure, it's freedom. Freedom from pretending, freedom from carrying what was never meant to stay in your chest, freedom from believing you must be strong enough on your own. God's strength doesn't compete with your weakness, it fills it. It settles into the empty spaces, steadies what shakes, softens what has been clenched for far too long. And as this truth settles deeper, you might feel a quiet release. Not dramatic, not sudden, but real. The kind of release that comes when your soul finally lets itself lean. Lean into the God who has walked with you through every silent ache. Lean into the grace that doesn't demand explanations. Lean into the love that holds you before you ever know how to pray. So let this moment be a turning point, not because anything around you changed, but because you allowed something within you to be carried instead of control. Let God take what your heart can no longer hold. Let Him carry the pieces you've been clutching. Let Him step into the very center of your heaviness and remind you that nothing you relinquish to Him is ever lost. Only redeemed, only restored, only transformed in ways you may not see yet, but one day thank Him for. And as you rest in this truth, may a new kind of courage rise in you. The courage that comes not from certainty, but from trust. Not from strength, but from surrender. Not from having all the answers, but from knowing the one who holds them. You are not walking toward Him, you are walking with Him. And because of that, you are no longer alone in anything you face. Jesus, take the weight I've carried in silence. Hold what I cannot hold, and let your nearness steady every fragile place within me. Teach my heart to trust the hands that never fail. Amen.
If these words touched a tender place in you, whisper Amen below. Share this moment to bless another heart, and stay close with us at 10 Men with God, a quiet refuge for souls learning to rest in Him. And if you feel led, gently tap subscribe so you never walk these sacred moments alone.